Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Mid-Level Media. Today, we've got another 4K review. We're going to be talking about Poseidon on 4K from Arrow Video. Wow, another 4K from Arrow Video review, right? Look, I talk about Arrow Video a lot because one, I love them, and another, like, they just release awesome stuff like all the time. So there's always something to talk about with Arrow Video. What do you want me to say, guys? Poseidon. This release comes out on August the 12th. So I should be dropping this like right before it actually comes out. But yeah, I'm excited to get into this one. I never watched this back when it came out back in 2006. I don't know why. I want to say it came out in the same month that X-Men 3 The Last Stand did. And I remember seeing that in the theaters. I actually remember seeing that in the theaters and See No Evil with Kane on the same night. And I think this one came out like the same month. So and Mission Impossible 3, I remember, came out around the same time. So I don't know like what I was doing or why I missed Poseidon because I was going to the theater all the time back then. But I did, and I'm glad I got a chance to check it out now. We're going to talk about it. Before we do that, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. We talk about all things physical media here on this channel, Blu-rays, 4Ks, owning the movies that you love, all that stuff there behind me every single day. If you like the kind of stuff, the kind of content, hit that subscribe button. Also, let me know in the comment section below, have you seen Poseidon? What are your thoughts? Just getting into the film, this is a movie starring Kurt Russell. You got Josh Lucas in this film as well, who I know from Sweet Home Alabama. That was the first movie I think I saw him in. He's in a bunch of other movies. I just can't think of any others off the top of my head. But he's in this movie. You also got a young, God, I forget the actress's name. Emmy Rossum, who was in Shameless, which I watched the first few seasons of Shameless, and then I kind of fell off that show. So you got a pretty good cast in this. Also, Fergie from the Black Eyed Peas is in this film, I guess because they were hot at the time. Like she got a role in the movie, which is interesting. And it's directed by the great Wolfgang Peterson, who did films like Das Boot, The Neverending Story, which is probably my favorite of his, but I would be very conflicted because Air Force One is one of my favorite action films of the 90s. But he's definitely a great director for sure that's had a lot of heavy hitters. In this one, I think this was like kind of this one, I think like maybe he did another movie after this, maybe like one more, but I think this was his last like big movie that released theatrically. So this kind of marked the end of Wolfgang Petersen's career. You know, like I said, I love disaster movies. I grew up with that. Have I said that yet? I grew up with disaster movies, of course, like Volcano, Dante's Peak, Independence Day, if you want to call that a disaster film. Twister, like I loved all those movies in the 90s. And this is kind of like that. I mean, this is basically a cruise ship that gets hit by a gigantic tidal wave. And apparently, like that stuff could actually be happening. Maybe they don't have it on record. Maybe it hasn't actually happened to a cruise ship, but like apparently there are real like rogue waves that is responsible for like the loss of ships. Like every single year, some ships just kind of fly off the radar unexplained. And a lot of people think it is like these rogue waves. So really cool setup. I wasn't exactly sure like where they were going to take it after that. But what basically happens is the cruise ship is out and Kurt Russell's on this cruise ship with his daughter and her boyfriend, and Josh Lucas is there as well, basically just gambling and trying to win money. And the wave comes and it happens really early. That's the thing I like about this movie is it gets into it very quickly. Very quickly it gets into it. Oh, Richard Dreyfuss is also in this film, which is pretty cool because he definitely has, ties to water movies, of course, with Jaws. But it gets into it like I feel like the wave hits within the first 10 minutes of the movie. So it basically flips the cruise ship like upside down. It capsizes it, and everybody's just kind of locked inside. I like the air bubble, the air pocket that's like built up inside the ship is keeping everybody to where they can breathe and everything. I enjoyed this movie a lot, though. I really like this movie. Like I said, I like just how fast paced it is. I think one of the things you lose because it's so fast paced is that character development. I don't feel like you really truly get to invest in the characters in this film. They're just kind of brought in. You're introduced to them, and then everything just starts happening. All hell breaks loose, and then they're just, it's about them. It's focused on them, but like all throughout the film, it just feels like they're a little bit of an afterthought, to the disaster, which honestly, like, it kind of works for me. But it does keep this movie from like being up there with, in my opinion, like the greats like Dante's Peak and Twister, like movies that really, Daylight, even with Sylvester Stallone. Movies that really focus on the characters and the emotional aspects of it. Not that this movie doesn't have some emotional moments, but it feels like when the emotional moments happen, they just kind of brush them aside and then move on to the next thing. The movie's got incredible special effects, like the entire opening sequence where it's kind of panning around the ship and you got Josh Lucas running. Apparently that was all CGI and it was a very ambitious shot at that point in time. So some great effects. The actual like wave sequence itself like really delivers. So this movie does deliver on the disaster aspects, delivers on the survival aspects of everybody just trying to survive. And another thing that I really like about this movie is it is so like unforgiving. Like this movie is brutal as hell. Like there's a death sequence in this movie, guys, that I'm not going to spoil because honestly, it shocked the hell out of me. Both because of who was dying, but also just the nature that they shot that. Like it was really like gut wrenching and just really like brutal the way they shot that. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe they're actually because it just felt so real. It felt like you were watching somebody actually die like right in front of you. So like shout out to Wolfgang Peterson because that was one of the most brutal like death sequences that I've ever seen on film. So that definitely made this movie like very memorable to me. But there's a couple other death sequences that were definitely just very brutal and just out of nowhere. And I feel like in other movies of this type, like it would go a certain way, but in this movie, it just kind of it goes the more realistic way. I feel like when it has the opportunity to be like more of a movie to get have that like movie moment, it doesn't take that. It opts for a more realistic, direction. So I appreciate that for sure. How this movie. Now, get into the 4K itself, guys, and this may be a little bit controversial because we've already dealt with this year with the Kill Bill movies and also Inglourious Basterds, but you tend to see this a lot from films of this time, of this era, but this is a 4K restoration from the 2K digital intermediate, and I think the reason for that is because this is such an effects-heavy movie. Like, there's a lot of CGI in this film, and they probably just felt that that was the way to go to get this to look the best that it possibly could in 4K. And I think it looks great. I think it's a great looking 4K. I don't have the Blu-ray. I'm not sure when the Blu-ray came out, but it must have come out from Warner Brothers because yeah, they're the ones that did this. But came out from Warner Brothers back in the day. I think it's going for like $10 right now. So I don't know how the Blu-ray looks in comparison. I can't really do that comparison because there's only a 4K in this set, but this looks really nice. Like it's really nice. It's really crisp. And I think it's probably the best that it's ever looked with this Arrow Video 4K restoration. But I did want to let people know up front because that seems to be a little bit controversial when they do that, 4K from the 2K digital intermediate, even though I think like I tend to trust Arrow Video. I think that if there was a reason to do it that way, they probably made the choice that they thought was best to make this movie look the best that it possibly could. It's got HDR, it's got Dolby Vision, some absolutely stunning like set piece moments in this film. There's a lot of stuff that's filmed underwater. It's very clear. You can make everything out. It looks great with all the blues and stuff. Just some incredible colors. And like I said, some great action, like set pieces. The setting itself, like inside the ship, like everything just looks gorgeous the whole time. Like even when it's all destroyed, everything just looks great. And it's pristine. It looks fantastic, crystal clear throughout. And I think honestly for this movie, like this is how you probably want it to look. So yeah, like with some of the more like CGI heavy moments, like they don't look absolutely fantastic. You can tell, like, I'm not saying that it doesn't age well because it does. I think it looks really good. But you can definitely tell, okay, this is mid 2000s, CGI, and you can kind of tell a little bit. And I feel like in 4K, you can probably tell just a little bit more. But yeah, it looks great though, guys. I think it looks awesome. It's really not a situation like the Kill Bills. I didn't think those looked particularly good. They looked okay, but not great. Like this honestly looks really great. So I've got no complaints on Poseidon on 4K. The actual 4K looked fantastic. But again, I didn't own the Blu-ray, so I don't know how it looks in comparison to that Blu-ray. Now, getting into the sound, guys, this does have a DTS HD Master Audio 5.1, which is another thing that may be a little bit controversial. I feel like with this movie, like a 7.1 and Atmos upgrade would have been warranted. Like I do feel like Arrow Video should have maybe invested in that, but maybe there's a reason that they didn't. But like this movie's got a lot of like really like action heavy set piece moments that I think would really shine with that Atmos. And I think if you had that full setup, you would have appreciated that. So that's another kind of drawback with this release right here. And I don't really understand why Arrow Video wouldn't do that Atmos sound with this. Getting into the packaging itself, guys, you got the cover right here with the gigantic wave, which like it actually, when the wave hit, guys, it is so freaking stunning. Like it really is a great disaster set piece sequence. Oh, and Wolfgang Peterson did have, some experience with that because he also did a perfect storm, which I would love to see Arrow Video maybe tackle a perfect storm as well. That would be fantastic. But yeah, the wave sequence is so good. I love the artwork on the front as well. I love the moon at the top. It kind of gives it a little bit of a almost like fantastical vibe as well. And this is not like based on a true story or anything like that, like the perfect storm. But it's actually, look, guys, I completely like glossed over this, but this is basically a readaptation of a book that I think came out in the 50s, the Poseidon Adventure. And there's also a movie in the 70s with Charlton Heston, which I've got on DVD, and I'm ashamed to say I have not watched that movie. I would love that to come out like with some like cool edition as well, but I will watch it at some point. But apparently that movie is much longer than this film, and I wanted to watch it to talk about this, but I just didn't get a chance to. But anyway, on the back, guys, we got the synopsis. You got the special features. You got the casting list down there at the bottom. You got all the specs. So nice slipcover edition. I don't think this is one that different artwork on the inside, guys. Like, look how cool that boat looked, or that cruise ship looked, like underwater upside down. Looks so freaking cool. But yeah, I don't think you needed a chunky box for this. I think a slipcover is just fine for Poseidon. And yeah, I would love, Arrow Video to tackle more disaster films. Like, how cool would it be if they did Volcano? Like, that would be incredible. On the inside, you've got the disc art, which is cool. Do we have reversible? We do have reversible, guys. And I think the reversible is just, I don't know if this is the original poster arts or if the other side was the original poster art. Maybe somebody can let me know in the comments section. I do want to point out, you got a nice little booklet in here as well that does give you more information on the actual like restoration itself. They did include the Salem's Lot card in here, which we've already had that rumor come out. I probably already talked about that on the physical media report by the time this review comes out, but Salem's Lot is apparently coming, I'm assuming, to 4K from Arrow Video, Toby Hooper's Salem's Lot, which is going to be pretty damn awesome when they announce that. Now let's go ahead and dive into the special features, guys, because there was actually some really great special features on this, including a feature from a YouTuber that you may or may not know, but we'll get to that here in a second. I actually thought that was really cool because I had no idea that he was on this. But no audio commentary. That's kind of strange that there was no audio commentary, because I would, even if this never had an audio commentary, I would have assumed that Arrow Video would have got a couple people on it to do an audio commentary, but they didn't for some reason. But you do have Ocean View, a brand new interview with director of photography John Seal, who did the cinematography. Great job, by the way, with this movie. Big Sets for Big Time Directors, a brand new interview with production designer William Sandel. Surfing the VFX Wave, a brand new interview with visual effects supervisor Boyd Shermis. Bringing Out the Dead, a brand new interview with makeup effects on-set supervisor Michael Dieck. Set a Course for Adventure. This is what I'm talking. So you got 4 interviews here, guys. And then you got a feature, a brand new retrospective on the film by Heath Holland from Serial at Midnight. And look, like he did, it wasn't a video essay. Like I was thinking like, okay, I saw his name. I'm like, man, it's going to be a video essay. It was like him like talking about the movie, doing a retrospective on the film, talking about the original Poseidon Adventure. And look, I thought it was great. I thought he did a phenomenal job, like maybe better than I've seen like most people on these features, just kind of breaking everything down and just, talking about the movie itself. And then you also have some archival stuff. You got Poseidon, a ship on a soundstage, a featurette looking at the film's production and featuring interviews with the cast and crew. So I imagine that came out back in the Blu-ray DVD era. Then you got Poseidon Upside Down, and a shipmate's diary. So some really good features here, guys, and a really good release from Arrow Video. This is going currently for $32.99 on Amazon. I will link it down below in the description. And yeah, I really enjoyed this release. I really enjoyed this movie. I think their only like big The only big flaw with this release is not, and the only thing that's a little bit puzzling, and maybe there's a reason, was upgrading it to Atmos. I think it could have used an Atmos, and they've done that recently with films, upgraded them to Atmos. So I just don't understand why they wouldn't do it with this one. Otherwise, though, really great release. I really enjoyed the film. This is one I can see going back to often for sure, just because I love disaster films and I love to have a new one, kind of in my collection of disaster films to return to. So yeah, great job by Arrow Video on Poseidon on 4K. Thank you all so much for watching. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on those bell notifications for all future videos and follow me on all my social media accounts. Those links are down below in the description, and we'll see you next time.